All right, so I'm standing in front of the world's most illegal limo land yacht.
Hey, whoa. It's only illegal-ish.
Illegal-ish? I thought it's illegal. You got a ticket.
That's why I said illegal-ish. We fixed the stuff.
That's right. It's actually only half illegal. Laymo, the land yacht, passed its first inspection. We're still waiting on the highway patrol. And you know what? We're trying to work through a couple things. But shout out to all the lieutenants at the Utah Highway Patrol. Thank you guys for watching our videos. And I want you to know that we truly do appreciate you guys. Your job, I wouldn't want it. You guys are amazing, and we like every single one of you except for Officer Farva. He's not our friend. Thank you guys for your service. We appreciate you, and we are there to come out and help you guys whenever you have accidents with our tow trucks. We love doing it. But we will never show up in the limo. Never. The half-legal Laymo has a couple issues. So, in the past week, what's happened is a video was published on the old YouTube, and it circulated the Utah Highway Patrol. So I've been working back and forth with Andy from the Utah Highway Patrol. Super cool dude. We found a couple little things that we need to take care of. We had to weld up a crack in the steering. So we're going to repair that properly. So today, we're gonna be unlifting it, doing some things and such, and we're gonna show you how to repair the world's soon-to-be most legal land yacht in all the land.
How do you unlift something that's already unlifted?
Sorry. We're not gonna unlift it. We're gonna lift it for a minute, do some repairs, and then like it never happened and unlift it again. This is gonna be on hillbilly shoulders because I have a few things to do, and my son's coming to hang out with me today. He's 13. He's too cool for me.
Supposed to be here at 8 o'clock.
Supposed to be here at 8. We postponed till 10:30. We just got him a new bike, and we're gonna be working on that. We'll show you guys that here in a minute.
I'm actually going to turn it around so that way I can nose back way up there, turn and nose it to this door so I don't have to stretch the welder and everything out so far. And I have some shade to work in. But we can't get it, the limo situated where we want it in position until we get the JK in its spot. Right here. So if I put the limo here first, there's no way to get the Jeep into that bay because it will take up the whole parking lot right here. Now let's get the Jeep moved in. I'm gonna grab the chain along and the strap and the tools I need to get the front unchained so we can fix all the steering. And once we get all the steering fixed, it'll all get sucked back down and chains get put back on. So you only have to suck it down enough to where there's a little bit of slack in the chain. Unbolt it without hurting yourself. Finally got it to where I can press, where it's slapping the chain to where I can get it off. So I'm just pulling the chains off of the axle, leaving them bolted to the frame. So that way it'll still raise up as high as it all the way up like it's supposed to. But we have to put them back on. Just leave them attached to the body, so I only have to do one bolt on each side. So total of 2 instead of having to do 4. Time to go up. Okay, all the pressure's off. See the difference? So I'm gonna jack it up, put the front end on jack stand, so if we need it, for any reason need to turn it, it's gonna be free turning. We don't have pressure down on the tires, make it harder. We might be taking the tires off. I don't know yet, so we'll just get it prepared for that. Jack stands are set and ready to go.
What'd you find?
Found that I think we need to take, this is loose, we need to take a plate down and make a C channel, so that way it sturdies this up more. I do want to adjust the steering wheel because it drives me nuts when we're driving it that it's upside down and not.
So we'll center the wheels, center the gearbox, and then we'll check the tie rod. I just don't think it's the right, it's just not clocked right. So when we go to turn, this thing has a pop. We don't want that. We want to be able to drive this down the road and be safe. Check all the bolts because it just sounds like things are clanking, like there's movement or something.
I noticed there's a little bit of a gap between the box and the frame.
Well, bolts are loose. We should probably tighten those back up. So we've got a few things going on here with the steering. We're gonna get the steering all fixed up, and then we're gonna talk with Officer Andy, see if we can't get an inspection and kind of get this thing legal to where it safely drives down the road in Utah. Anyway, keep doing it.
I want to start with pulling the drag link off the pitman arm so I can get this all figured out for the bracket to reinforce the steering so it doesn't sit there and move as much. While it's off, I'll also clock the steering wheel and get it to where it's centered. Okay, in order to put the bracket on like I want to reinforce the steering so it doesn't slop as much, I have to get this off. It's a little tight, so I'm just gonna stick it in the vise and tap it off. Just like that. Now I just gotta find some material, metal, to, well, make that bracket that I want to make it sturdier. I guess I should have measured before I pulled the bolt and let it all come out. So now I gotta go undo the steps I just did to get a measurement. I'm not putting the bolt all the way up in it. We'll say 2 inches. Okay, now I'll go find material. And I think I know where the perfect piece is. It's actually already has the bend. It's a piece of angle iron, about 1/4 inch wall, if not thicker. Got the piece of plate, and it is 3/8 thick. That should hold it just like we want it to. I'm gonna do 1 7/8 inches, and then I can adjust from there. Then I need to get the drill and drill bits, because I need to get that drilled for the bolt to go through it. So the hole we need is 3/4. We don't have none of the fancy stepper bits. We just have the old school plain Jane drill bit. For this thick of metal, I like to start with a smaller bit for a pilot hole and jump up a couple sizes each time, so that way you're not burning through bits as quick, because we don't have no cutting oil and they're not my bits to burn up. It's time for the big boy. I think the bit's dull. I'm going to send Steve to Hermanson's Hardware, get a new 3/4 inch bit. I'm going to go ahead and get them cut to length. So that's one less step that I have to do when he gets back. So all we have to do is just drill it, get it put in place, weld it, and be done with that.
I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Factor Mills. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Robby50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Factor is a go-to lunch or dinner solution when I'm working hard or just working late at the shop. Factor cuts down on grocery trips and cooking. Factor has so many nutritious options for keeping my fridge well stocked. So with a variety of meal options from Factor, I went through the meals that I've got and I've decided to eat the queso fundido. So today's lunch, brought to you by Factor, super simple. Couple holes in the microwave. With Factor, your meals are fresh, never frozen, and delivered straight to your door. With my busy schedule, I'm constantly on the go. Factor makes that simple. They deliver the meals to my doorstep, I'm able to grab them, throw them in the microwave, and in 2 minutes, I'm eating a very well-balanced, nutritious meal that actually tastes good. And this is as close to an eating channel as you're gonna ever get from my channel. Head to factor75.com or click the link in the description below and use code Robby50 to get 50% off your first Factor box.
Now that I got it cut all the lengths, I want to round it off and make it look good before I weld it in place. Guess what? Steve's back. So I'm gonna finish drilling this hole.
You know, you want that to go straight.
You know how hard it is to make something go straight that's this big? Definitely puts off the shavings. Look at the size of those beauties. Get rid of the little burrs. So as you can see, I'm roughly 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Actually, it's only 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. Yep, that's 1/2 inch. Misreading the tape. I'll measure 1/2 inch and go cut it off. Okay, so I got my mark on there all the way across. Time to get the cut. Comes the moment of truth. That looks like it's going to work. Oh yeah, it's gonna work real nice. Just gotta get the flapper disc and grind right here to where it's so it sits flush, so if we ever need to take it out, it's easy to come out. Okay, we should be able to get that out with no problems now. Okay, so before I weld on a vehicle, I like to make sure the battery's unhooked. One time, long time ago, I didn't unhook a battery and it fried stuff.
You wanna know what it does? Wanna know how we learned?
By your mistakes.
Demolition derby cars. We left the battery hooked up and you fry the module in the HEI distributors.
You done that?
Many times. That's how I learned.
Mine was and mine wasn't even welded on a vehicle. Mine was welded on a trailer that was hooked to the vehicle and it fried the whole wiring system for the lights.
Yeah, there's lots of welders out there that'll say, oh, you're fine, leave the battery. Well, go ahead and weld at your own risk, but we don't take the risk. So I have an update coming to you live from the mechanic shop at Robby Layton Nation. So we just got off the phone with Roscoe P. Coltrane, and I think we're coming to a conclusion here pretty quick. He's working it out, had some more questions, we answered some questions, we had a little bit of a meeting, the normal stuff when you're making things legal, and he's gonna be calling me back later, and we're gonna be bringing you guys some information, so don't go anywhere, because I think the Laymo is gonna be legal.
So the time has come. I'm going to now be able to weld this piece that I built. It'll help with any of the weird movements from this that should not be there. But we gotta make sure we tighten it up so that way it is right where we need it. tack it, because before you fully weld, you want to turn the steering wheel completely side to side to make sure that it won't hit anywhere and limit our steering capabilities. Because if it does, then I'll have to rebuild this bracket to where this bottom piece is a little bit longer to give me clearance. Just a small tack is all you need. Now I'll have Steve go turn the wheel from side to side. Make sure you count to make sure it's going all the way. So it's not clearing all the way. I gotta shave a little bit of this one side off because we're hitting, and it's allowed us not to turn all the way to the left. That's why you always just tack it and not fully weld it. Came out with these. I might be able to just shift it a little bit. Okay, now we just gotta turn both directions all the way again and make sure we're getting the full count and to make sure everything clears. We have clearance with it fully bottomed out. So now I'll just get it welded in place. That should be a lot better on the steering part.
Always make sure you're not gonna bind. So that's gonna take the movement out of that. Should. And then he's got to assess the frame. And I don't know if we're getting this all done today, but one good thing, Lieutenant Dan let me know that with what we're doing, we may not have to chain this down again. Just saved you some work.
No, because that means I have to unchain it all.
So Hillbilly's gonna continue working. I'm gonna go start on this Jeep, and then my son Braden showed up, and he's gonna be working on his Surron.
Now that we know it all clears everywhere, when we turn both directions all the way, it clears. That means it's safe to say I can fully weld it where it sits.
All right, so what we have here is a Surron. I don't know a lot about it. All I know is it's an electric bike. And so this is my son Braden, he's 13 years old. He's gonna be fixing some things. So I may or may not have wheelied over on it. And before I gave it to him, I broke the peg holder off. So he's gonna be changing the pegs, peg holders, throttle's broken. So we're gonna be changing that, and then we're gonna do some brakes. While he's working on this, I'm gonna be helping him, kind of coaching him, doing that stuff. I'm gonna be working on this Rubicon right behind me. So I believe this is a 2012 Jeep Wrangler. It's a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon. So it's been hit here. We've got a wheel that's leaning in. We've got this fender that's all the way smashed in, and it's taken the brunt of the damage right here to this B pillar. So this B pillar's pushed back, door's flipped up. We got a major issue with this door. So this thing's gonna be going on the frame rack. What we're gonna do first is do a teardown. So I've got my skid loader right behind me. I'm gonna be tying off to that to pull this portion out, because I want to get this out before I take things apart. The frame rack's full today, or I would just go over on the frame rack, but we're going to compromise and show you guys how to pull stuff without a frame rack. Then we're going to assess the damage, but I can tell right now this wheel leaning over, so this may end up having to get a front axle assembly in it. And it's got a Dynatrack in it. This thing is completely upgraded. It's got a 6.0 LS in it. I believe a company called Motec actually built this Jeep and upfitted it with the 6.0 LS in it. When this runs, I would imagine this thing is pretty sweet, but it's not running right now because the control module got hit. As we go to tear it down, we'll show you guys more and just kind of explain the process. All right, so I went and grabbed one of my Mo clamps. I'm gonna use this one. It's gonna go up inside here. Luckily, there's a little ledge that'll lock it in. So I'm just gonna tie off to that because the skid loader is like 9,000 pounds. Hook a chain along to it, and I'm gonna show you guys how to pull it out. Little Braden over here got his new part. So he's gonna be changing this out. It's his throttle, and then he's got new brake pads. So he's gonna get working on that, and hopefully he can do it. All right, so normally I would be doing this with hydraulic power on the frame rack, but we're using manual chain pulls right now. It might slide the vehicle, but hopefully it doesn't. When you're pulling anything, you wanna get it all solid. If this doesn't work, then we're gonna have to go to the frame rack, but nope, it's coming. So if you look right here, oh, I'm gonna grab a hammer.
Okay, when we was in the process of making this limo legal, Robby had me weld up some crack, drill some holes at the end of each crack, weld them up, but I just spotted another little crack. Can't really see much, so I'm gonna wire wheel it and find if there's any other cracks anywhere else. I'm gonna take something like that, put it across, weld it up in, just for extra strength. Hope and pray this works.
And after, I'm gonna need a 10 millimeter. And I'll put this in on that one.
All right, so after further inspection, we tried pulling this. It's too much for that. It's just pulling the vehicle. So what I'm gonna do, I looked at this, and this upper rail is actually bent. So normally I like to pull things before I disassemble them, but in this situation, getting the fender off and the fender flare isn't gonna hurt anything. So I'm gonna start just stripping this thing down, and then once the frame rack's available, we'll get it up on the frame rack and actually pull it. But we've got this right here. We got a bunch of protectors that are gonna have to come off that are damaged. Get them out of the way so we can really get in and assess the damage. I've got my handy dandy crescent. So I'll go ahead and take out all the bolts, get this flare off, and keep disassembling it.
So just gotta get this off. And now we need to put this on the new ones. Oh yeah, we also need to do it with this one. I'm gonna bring the new bracket. Now I'm gonna get that out and tighten it. Just the socket we use, right? To get it off. Probably should have done this before, but put it on, but it's fine. That feels pretty tight. Now let's get this on.
Oh, I'll get it set and then you just push the pin. Which way does the fork breakaway up? Wiggle, 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 wiggle. You're going. Nice. All right, so this is a breakaway foot peg. Does that just push on or? Just like that. And that is how you install, what is this, a Warp 9?
Yeah, Warp 9 pegs.
A Warp 9 peg. And in little kid world, the Warp 9 pegs mean a lot. These are dope, huh?
Yeah. These are so dope.
So dope.
Now let's get it installed on. Oh, that's what the spurs are for.
Yeah.
That makes way more sense. Is that spur lined up? I think it is. And then I think after this we'll either do the throttle. It might be in the other broken piece, but I don't know. We also have the kickstand piece, but my dad said once Prickly Motorsports, once theirs comes in stock, we might put that on. And that does not have the kickstand piece. I took my kickstand off because I have the stand. I don't know, I think it just looks better, I guess. That's just my opinion. That is the JFG Racing peg bracket installed. Oh yeah, that's way better.
All right, so I got all the bolts out. This thing, I don't know who makes this fender, but this thing is like solid.
Straight.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of repair.
Bend right there.
And that sucker's good to go again. But look at what it did to the rest of the Jeep. So it's sweet, but it sure didn't do this upper rail any favors. That's for sure.
We thought the throttle cable was wrong, but I just did not have this part out. I messed with the spring a little bit and this part came out, so now we realized new throttle cable in. That's gonna help a lot. I do have the grip. It's the same exact grip, but it's just at my house, so we'll put that on later. But for now, let's get this spring in.
I buzzed out all the bolts on this rocker protection. It's got some serious pressure where it's bent up front. These bolts are not coming out, but it's tearing through. Oh, that one came out. But we still got a couple here that not wanting to come out. So I'm gonna try a trick where you just pull a lot of pressure, and sometimes it works. All right, it worked. And now we have one more. And if I can't get it out, we have to drill it out. Oh, it's working. With these nut zerts, when you're putting them into sheet metal and you're putting really thick stuff on, puts a lot of pressure on them. Sometimes they slip and turn, but if you just pull a little pressure, sometimes it'll come out. Luckily, in this case, they came out. Now I'm gonna go help Braden figure out the spring on his throttle. Where's the cable itself? Oh, duh. It's an electric bike. We're working on an electric bike, so it goes off of magnets. I should have known. All right, so that's got preload on the throttle itself. Now, how did you have this routed? On top?
Yeah, it just goes.
Yeah. It goes under?
The cable just goes up right here.
Oh, right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool,
I know I
cool.
have.
So right here, now we need to tighten it in, don't we?
Yeah.
So now we'll put the brackets on, but yeah, that throttle feels nice. It's got that spring tension.
And then I'll put the grip on once I get home.
Okay. And do we want to go all the way to the bar? This is very, very precise work. Let me tell you a little story about how this came about. This little boy, 13 years old, in the 7th grade, getting F's, flunking all his classes, first 2 quarters. Second 2 quarters, this little boy got a 4.0, 2 times in a row. He earned himself a Surron. Good job.
Thanks.
But we bought a janky Surron that has a lot of issues. Moral of the story, when you buy used stuff, see why they're for sale. Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Okay, so one of the things we've been having go wrong is when you turn, it makes a real loud plop, clock. I want to have Steve jump in, start it, and turn both directions so I can see what's making the clock noise. So I found out what it is. I got to figure out how I want to take it off because it's this link right here holds the car from going side to side because it's only a 3-link setup. So it has that link to hold it center side to side. Well, it's slipping on the bolt, both directions. Gotta figure out how I want to get that off so I can figure out what's going on with it. So I take straps, Robby's idea, X out the frame to the axle. So that way, when I take this bar out, it'll have to pull the straps one way to fall, but it can't because the other strap's gonna be pulling too. So it's gonna keep it centered right where I need it. Heels are both tight. I'll get the sizes I need to get this off.
I'm gonna double check and make sure this has the same amount of magnets that came out because we can't get any throttle response. Figured it out. This new throttle has the wrong magnets in it. Doesn't have a magnet there, has a magnet there. So it's not registering that it's even got a throttle in it. Go like this. Seems to work. What if we shave this down if we can get a little bit more throttle out of it? We're gonna try to mod it a little. We're gonna do a little redneck modifying.
Who needs a 72 volt when you can just shave down the
Cha boy. I'm gonna do a little shaving on it. See if that makes it a little faster. Kids, do not try this at home.
Dad, we'll add that to our list.
Vroom, vroom.
We now need a throttle cable and then a Baja Designs S2 Pro light.
Where do you get that at?
Amp Bikes or Amp
So you
Bikes.
get that exclusively at ampedbikes.com. All right, so we're gonna have to postpone repairing it fully. We'll get this on. We're gonna hurry and do the brakes and get this boy on his way to go and playing. It's summertime.
And I got soccer practice in like 3 hours.
He does have soccer practice. Okay, let's see. We're gonna see if it'll full throttle, past full throttle. Oh yeah.
Sick.
She rips. Oh yeah. I don't know if that actually did anything, but.
Now we just need some brakes.
Oh yeah, the kickstand sensor.
Dad, it did help.
Expertly removed.
It did help with the miles per hour. Because earlier I could go 48, that just hit 51.
Well, why are you riding it that fast?
Busted.
You were going the speed limit, which is like 15 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. All right, if you're squeamish, don't watch. See that? When I was 11 years old, I had one of those go right in my leg.
Okay.
I got a scar. Don't look at my sweet leg. I got a scar right there. Oh, you've already got one.
I had one stick in my leg.
Oh, even Steve's had it. These foot pegs are leg eliminators, so be careful. You should have riding boots, or you'll look like me. We're gonna work on getting the brakes off. Go check in on Hillbilly.
Found this the corporate to the issue. They're wallered out.
For real?
For real.
How did that happen?
Because it had this bolts are too small, and so it was popping and moving and causing it to waller out. And now that it's wallered out, you put the right size bolt in there, which what was in there now, it still pops.
So we do have a bag of misalignment spacers, so Hillbilly's gonna dig through and maybe we'll get lucky.
Found a set for the shocks. They're even too big on the outside, so I wouldn't be able to use them.
All right, so these are probably the easiest brakes I've ever changed, other than this doesn't even have any brake pads in it. I'm gonna pull the back apart and see how they go. Yeah, this front completely just has no brakes. These are the new brake pads. I don't know what the heck's happened, but no pads. There's a little center pin in these rear brakes that need to be pulled out.
No, that's an Allen key.
Got it. We got these new pads on. Just want you to pull them. Does it feel any better?
I mean, they're good, but they're not.
They're not like great. All right, so now we're gonna adjust the brakes. The rear brakes on the Surron are not any better. All out of fluid. I was gonna put brake fluid, but it says mineral oil right on it. So we're gonna have to find some. We figured out how to adjust the brakes. So now we've got some good lever action. It feels like it needs to have the brakes bled, but you need a special kit to do these Surrons. We're just gonna put pads in, adjust the levers to where he can actually stop. I'll get a brake bleed kit and we'll bleed them another time. It's turned into way more work than I thought. They're pretty simple if you know what you're doing. I've never done them before, so I did things just a little bit backwards. You can adjust them to center them on the rotor. All right, we've got the pads on, but now they're way out of whack.
The mounting holes on the axle and the frame, I have to go a little bit bigger, just like I did the Heim joints, or misalignment pins. And so my hand's tired, I'm cheating, using air file.
I have tools that I have absolutely no idea that I have them.
No, I known you had it.
Oh, but he didn't want to use it before. I'm gonna get this fender off, and then I just noticed, so this vehicle wouldn't start when it got here. Well, if you look right there, that plug is completely disconnected. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get this puppy to fire up. So Braden's out testing his Surron to see if it'll stop good or not.
It just drags, but
Locked them up.
Why didn't I do that in there?
I don't know, you'd have been done an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, I know. I like it snug like that, so that way no chances of slop happening. That one needs to be hit a little bit. Make a little of that. Maybe hit it from the side a little bit. Just like the other side. Good. It is time for the drag lane to go back in. Keep my fingers crossed that the popping noise is gone.
So I've worked on a lot of these Jeeps, so I kind of understand how this works, but for somebody that's never worked on it, you have to actually remove the windshield wipers and the cowl and this hinge support to get the fender off, because there's two little bolts that are hiding underneath here. I think I've got all the bolts. In a normal situation, not all this would be bent. But in this situation, we got a lot of structural damage, and so, well, this has already been changed with an aftermarket front fender. This thing got pounded. That whole section is messed up. Kind of didn't expect that much damage, but why we tear them down? That would make sense why this whole pillar's out of misalignment. Got a lot of damage going on there. So this entire panel is gonna end up getting changed. This upper rail is gonna end up getting changed. I'm gonna hurry and dissect this stuff. I think will be easy. Just super thin aluminum. Oh, look at that. That bracket's coming right out. Well, looks like Braden's got his Surron all good.
Dad, when you come home tonight, can you bring the stand?
Yeah, he's got to get home because he's headed to soccer practice, so he's got his wheels going. Good grades pay off, kids.
Okay, so we're gonna have Steve get inside and repeat the process of turning back and forth to make sure that the pop noise is gone, like I am hoping and praying. Did you hear that?
No, what?
Exactly.
Popping's done, but the frame does need to be reinforced.
Well, yeah, but that'll be for another day, another dollar. Good news, Hillbilly got the popping to go away. Always use the correct size bolts, because when you undersize bolts, they waller.
And then you have to file it out.
Then you gotta file it out by hand, and then realize that you have an air file. I've gotta try, oh, I can get to the back side of these. I couldn't get to the back side with that all smashed up in there. Trying to gain access. We've got 1 of 3 projects done. Sorry, no, we got 2 of 3. Hillbilly's got the Laymo steering somewhat handled. Braden's got a Surron done. I'm still trying to get this torn down. As soon as I get this bracket out of the way, we're gonna assess that and see if we can't get this Jeep to fire. Because this thing came all the way from Maine.
It's Maryland.
Sorry, not Maine. This Jeep got transported to us all the way from Maryland. So thank you to Keith. We appreciate the business and we appreciate you trusting us and shipping this thing across the country. So they pushed it on the trailer, pushed it off the trailer. Now we're gonna figure out why it won't start, and I think I have the fix for it. So I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, those brackets are off. This whole inner structure is smashed. Look at that firewall. All this, that thing is hit super duper hard. That would make sense why a lot of things are the way they are. The reason this axle's bent, there's nothing we can do about that right now. So that needs the frame rack. So I'm gonna get up here. So this has some sort of a bracket that's supposed to hold all of these wires on. It's kind of bent, and this connector was pulled out. So I'm gonna go through and straighten these pins, clean up a little bit of corrosion that's happened, make these little terminals happy, plug that back in, and we're gonna hope that this sucker will start. Okay, so in theory, this would make complete sense why this Jeep is not starting. So here's the bracket that holds that plug that runs the starter, the ECU, the coils, fuel pressure, coil, ECU, and the air conditioning. When it got hit and pulled out, you can see, pulled that wire out, which is the starter, and it pulled out all these little pins. All these are bent, and it goes into this plug unit right here. So I'm gonna straighten them very, very carefully, and then we'll plug it all back in, see if we can't start this Jeep. Voila! Just like that. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Got it. That's a positive. Looks like we're in business. This 6.0 sounds awesome too. The Jeep lives again. The 6.0 LS is doing awesome. We figured out the problem. It starts. That's a good day. So what that means for us is it's gonna be mobile while we work on it. We got it as far as we planned on. We've got it all torn down. The fender's off. You can see the upper rail is damaged. We've got A-pillar damaged. The firewall is damaged as well. But all of this stuff can be fixed. So next step is this thing's gonna have to be put on the frame rack. Once we get that off, we're gonna be able to drive this. The reason we wanted to get it started, pushing this thing's just a bear. Having 5 people trying to get this thing pushed, using the skid steer, it's never fun. Now, we can start this puppy up, drive it where we need it. We've got 3 of 3 done. Let's go check out what Hillbilly's doing right now. It looks like Hillbilly's got this all welded up for now.
We do gotta brace this because the whole frame rolls about a 1/16 of an inch every time you turn it.
So I will tell you right now, I absolutely hate 3-link. You might see in the near future, very, very near, we're either gonna 4-link this or we're gonna have to take a brace from here and go to the other framer or do something to really stiffen this thing up.
4-link.
I'm thinking 4-link. We've got that done. That means we are 3 for 3. All 3 projects, we have an update. So I've been on the phone with the Utah Highway Patrol today. So Lieutenant Dan talked to Andy. Andy works in the same department as Farva. The reason we're doing this is we don't want to mess with the cops. We really like the cops. They're there to serve, they're there to protect, they're there to help us, we're there to help them. So out of respect for them, we really are trying to do what we can do to be legal. So we have followed the laws, we've done what we can do, and we have come to a crossroads. I was honest with him. I told him what the goals are with the Laymo. It's eventually gonna have a diesel engine, it's eventually gonna have a mid-mounted transfer case, and it's eventually gonna have full hydraulic steering.
What do you mean eventually have a mid-mount transfer case? It already has a mid-mount transfer case.
It's gonna have a mid-mounted,
one.
yeah, a mid-mounted more in the center of the Laymo. We're gonna do another
So it's gonna have
drive
2
shaft.
transfer
It's gonna
cases?
have, yeah, no, it's gonna have one. We're gonna pull that out. Coming in the near future, we are getting an industrial injections, common rail, triple turboed diesel engine for the Laymo. It's gonna be super awesome. Here's where we ran into our roadblock. As soon as I told the officer, hey, I'm putting a full hydraulic system on this. Guess what? That doesn't fly for on-road, registered as a car. Anyway, so at that point, you know what? They're doing their job and I understand it. And I wanna be a law-abiding citizen. So we've made an agreement. The Laymo is legal! It is now Utah's newest ATV.
On highway ATV.
On highway, the Laymo is 100% legal. We want to thank the Utah Highway Patrol. They've been nothing but awesome to us. I mean, this seriously went all the way to the very, very top of the ladder. And we appreciate the lieutenants. We appreciate cops. We're just trying to show you what we went through to become legal.
And it wasn't us that took it to the top. We didn't ask about taking it to the top.
Yeah, we didn't ask.
They done it themselves.
We didn't ask for that, but we got it. Thank you. As always, we appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this video, go check out this one.